Hello! I am recording this about a month after I got home from Europe, but the purpose of this video is to serve as memories for me. This is my travel journal. I don't like to write. I've never liked to journal. It's never been something I've stuck with, so this video is my travel journal for our trip to Europe. I want to tell you some highlights, some things that we did that really stuck out, some things we learned about Europe, about ourselves, and just go through the schedule that we did. This is not as exciting of a video as I hoped it would be because I do not have many videos from our trip in Paris. As you know, you've already seen the Belgium videos, you've already seen the Disneyland Paris videos, but in between, we went to Paris for 4 days and it was lovely, but my phone did get pickpocketed, so unfortunately I wasn't able to sync my videos through Wi-Fi fast enough to save the videos. So the only videos I have are ones from Caleb's phone from Paris. I have videos from Caleb's phone, and I have a few videos from my phone that I fortunately sent to my family back home, and they saved them for me, so I have those videos. But other than that, I lost everything from Paris. I have pictures to show you, and if I don't have pictures of something, I'm going to look it up on Google and take a picture from Google to show you what I'm talking about. So yeah, this is mostly going to be a verbal journal of things I did, and I'll scatter pictures throughout and a couple videos if I have them. Yes, overall, we really loved Paris. It has been a place that I've been dreaming of going to for a while, and it just always seems so romantic, and nighttime just magical, and the Eiffel Tower in general, I always just wanted to see it. So I can cross that off my bucket list. We've gone to Paris, and I'm really glad that we stayed 4 days in the city instead of spreading ourselves too thin and trying to go to other villages around Paris. I'm glad we just devoted our time to the city so we could feel like we did everything. We got to see everything that we wanted. And I'm sure we will go back to France. I would love to go back to France and go to the lavender fields and see the castles and Nice and just the beautiful areas that aren't in the city. I do look forward to seeing that one day, but that was not this trip. So I'm going to talk about just our experience in the city of Paris. First, get the topic out of the way. Yes, my phone was pickpocketed. What happened is we were on a metro, like the underground metro, which we used all the time, and we really loved public transportation. It was very easy once we learned how to do it. We used it every single day, multiple times a day. We didn't have a rental car, and when it was too far to walk somewhere or it was rainy and we didn't want to walk, we used the metro all the time, and it served us really well, except for this one time. We went at rush hour, and there were more people in that thing than definitely were probably allowed to be in that thing. We were packed in like sardines. You were like this, bumping into people boarding the train. Caleb and I were standing holding on to a pole. He was facing me, I was facing him like this. I've heard, and I was really prepared about pickpockets. Like I heard plenty about them. You do an ounce of research before you go to Paris, and the thing you learn is watch out for pickpockets. So yes, I watched out, and I was so careful. I was constantly asking Caleb and reminding myself, do you have your phone? Do you have your wallet? Everywhere we went, I was making sure, and I was making sure it was in his front pocket, not his back, because that's what I learned. And I carry my phone in my back pocket here in Buffalo, but I, on purpose, bought this jacket that had front pockets, because I'm like, good, I know where it is. This is on my front, see, right there. And I would always know where it is. I felt a lot safer having this jacket than accidentally putting it in my back pocket or whatever. So, and with vlogging, I'm taking videos all the time. I'm pulling out my phone all the time. So putting it away, like in my backpack, was not really an option. You know, I almost felt safer knowing exactly where it was. So yeah, the what ifs were, oh, should have put it away or something, but there's this little snap on this pocket, and that's not enough to keep someone away. So but Caleb reminds me that, you know, pickpockets can take watches off of your wrist without you knowing, so they can open a snap and just take it. Plus, like, everyone was bumping into each other, so you don't think that someone's like stealing something from you. You just think they're bumping into you because it's really, really, really packed. So no, I did not see the person who did it. I'm sure I looked at them and thought nothing of it. I probably realized within 2 minutes after it happened that it happened. We got to a metro stop. A lot of people got off. The room filled out a little bit, so Caleb and I moved across the train to where there was more room. And in that moment, I felt to make sure, which I always do, I have a very good habit of making sure I have everything on me. And in that moment, I panicked, like, oh my gosh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Caleb, do you have my phone? And that was like that sinking feeling of like, oh my gosh, I just lost my phone. I just lost my phone in Paris. So yeah, we went back to the restaurant that we were previously at in hopes of maybe I left it there, but I have never, ever, ever left my phone. I've never lost my phone. I've never not known where my phone is. Perks of using your phone a lot, you know where it is. So I knew it wasn't there, and it wasn't, but so someone definitely just like took it out of my pocket while we were holding on to the pole. So yeah, I knew right away, but it was already too late. Like, what are you gonna do in that situation? I had no idea who did it. Yeah, so as soon as it happened, we went through the process of the like find my iPhone and putting it as lost, you know, that whole process. But the thing is, my phone does not have service in Europe, so we kept it on airplane mode, and I only could go online when I had Wi-Fi. So what it was beneficial for was vlogging, taking pictures, and the things I had saved, like downloaded, like Google Maps. We used Caleb's phone for everything internet, so when you do find my iPhone, it needs to be connected to the internet for that to work. Like, it needs to have data, and my phone was on airplane mode, which is like the worst case scenario. So yeah, it was gone for good, unfortunately. And the worst part about that was just losing the videos. We had vlogged so heavily those 4 days. Oh, by the way, this was the last day of Paris, I should say that. So the very last day, and like the last night, it happened at night, in the evening, I should say. So we vlogged 4 heavy days of videos, talking to the camera, showing you the coolest things, making really great jokes you would have laughed at, and showing you everything. And that was my travel journal to remember Paris. And all those videos are gone except for the ones I happen to send my family. So that was the hardest part, because the pictures all got backed up, and I took a lot of pictures on my camera too. So of course I have those. That's totally unrelated. And anything that Caleb took, which is very, very, very few pictures, we have those on his phone. Phones can be replaced. All the apps on there can be replaced. Everything was fine. I have a new phone now, and it's all fine, but I do not have those videos, so that's a bummer. So that's why I'm sitting here talking to you instead of just making Paris vlogs. Watch out for pickpockets. Oh, you want to know the worst part? I'm standing there holding onto the pole facing Caleb, and I said to him, Caleb, watch my back for pickpockets. I literally said that probably the moment I was being robbed. Bummer. Okay, moving on. I have a list here to remind me what to talk about. First thing, everyone asks, like, how was it not knowing the language? I took Spanish, Caleb took Spanish in school, so we do not have any background in French and do really terrible accents, so I apologize in advance when I'm trying to tell you the name of things and it's totally wrong, but it actually was totally fine. Paris is such a touristy area that everyone speaks English and French, and we stayed, for the most part, relatively close to the Eiffel Tower. There was one day that we like went out to a different area that was maybe like an hour or 45 minutes away by metro, and that's where we encountered someone at a bakery who did not speak English, and that was a little tricky, but we made it work. But everybody else, everywhere else, at the museum and monument places, at restaurants, at bakeries, everyone, even the Uber drivers, they all spoke enough English. But what we learned is to try to speak French to them first. Always say bonjour or else it's rude. And attempt to speak their language. You're in their country after all. And then if you really struggle and they pick up on it right away, they're probably gonna start speaking to you in English. All the restaurants we went to, they all asked English or French, and they had both menus available. So that was convenient. I'm trying to think, but I don't think we ever sat down at a restaurant with a fully French menu and had no idea what we were looking at. That never happened. And that's a little funny because that's something I was worried about. Like I thought, oh, are we gonna be like Googling what this word means in a restaurant? But no, we had English menus the whole time, and it was pretty easy. What we tried to do when we were at stores or like bakery cases or something, you say hello, and I learned how to say I would like, and then I tried to read what I would like, or if I couldn't pronounce it, I would point at it and say s'il vous plaît. So like I would like is je voudrais, and I learned that, and that was my most commonly used phrase, je voudrais, s'il vous plaît, and that worked actually really well. It was a phrase that I didn't anticipate to use as much as I did, and I'm so glad I learned it. Thanks, Andrew. He taught it to me. Yeah, so the language barrier was not a problem, but I do recommend learning the basic things and just being a little bit prepared. We had one of those, I should have brought it to show you, but we had one of those like little pocket guide French travel book things, like dictionaries and stuff. I think we used it like once, and then we stopped bringing it with us because we felt like it was just taking up space in our bag. We didn't even need it. So I don't know, it's fine. If you go outside of Paris though, like if you leave the tourist areas, you will run into more people who don't speak English. So yes, we have not done that yet. So our very first Airbnb is definitely a highlight of our trip. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen some pictures I posted of the view. It was up 6 flights of twirly stairs, and there was a balcony in our apartment up there, and the view was the Eiffel Tower over these typical French rooftops, and it was perfect. And it was a little bit of a splurge for us, but I knew like I just really wanted that like one Airbnb with a view. And you know what, it was like the crummiest Airbnb, but it had an amazing view. So and it wasn't super expensive. Okay, so this is our teeny tiny Airbnb for the next 2 nights in Paris. Okay, here's our living room, and the most important thing, the view. Check it out. And now I'm on the balcony. Look at this view from our balcony in Paris. I love it so much. Yeah, we stayed there for 2 nights, and that was amazing to like wake up and just, oh, hey Eiffel Tower. And then the one night we were resting, relaxing on the couch, and you can see the Eiffel Tower twinkle at night. Every night on the hour, it twinkles and sparkles for 5 minutes, and it's like the most magical thing ever. And we watched that from our couch. It was pretty cool. I was just like saying goodnight to the Eiffel Tower every night. I loved it. And that was the first time we saw the Eiffel Tower too. We went up those 6 flights of stairs, and I surprised Caleb with this place. He had never seen pictures, so he didn't know what it was gonna be like. Our second Airbnb, we moved to a different place for the next 2 nights, was on the other side of town. It had a view of that, not a great view or anything, but it did have a view. It had 2 little balconies that you could step out on. And it was a little bit more cozy of an apartment, but also up 6 flights of winding stairs. And that one was cheap. Even with the view, it was cheap. So yeah, Airbnb for the win. We didn't stay in a hotel in Paris at all. The first evening we dedicated most of our time to just seeing the Eiffel Tower. So we took a nice walk across the river over to Trocadéro, which was at the top of my list of places to view the Eiffel Tower. And later on I'll mention a photo session that we did there, that it was just at the top of my list of places to photograph the Eiffel Tower and to see it. So we went straight there, and I loved it. And I believe the Eiffel Tower is 1,000 feet tall, which is very tall. Once you see it in person, you're like, holy cow, that is ridiculously tall. I am not someone who's particularly afraid of heights, but when I saw the Eiffel Tower, it solidified my plans to not go up it. I was like, oh my gosh, there is no way. I do not want to do that. Like, yeah, it looks freaky to go up there. I don't think I will be doing that ever. So instead of going way up to the tippy top of the Eiffel Tower, we had 3 locations planned during our time there that would give us really beautiful views of the Eiffel Tower. Like if you go up in the Eiffel Tower, you don't get to see the Eiffel Tower. So we went up in other places and saw the Eiffel Tower. And I got really good pictures in those places. So let's see, the first one is called Montparnasse Tower. And it's kind of like the skyscraper that's close to Paris, because there's like the city, there's the Eiffel Tower, and there's a skyscraper right here. And it's ugly and black and stands out quite a bit on the horizon. And if you go up to the tippy top of it, there's a really cool overlook. And we did it at night, so we could see the Eiffel Tower doing its thing at night, and I loved it. That cost money and had an insanely fast elevator, like ridiculously fast. Like you're looking at the number and you're like, how on earth is it moving that fast? I don't know how they have technology that does that, but we moved up there very, very quickly. And at the top there were those binocular things that you could pay to look through, which was fun. And it had 1 penny machine, so I got 1 penny from up there. And it was kind of like a lounge, like there were seats. It was cold and rainy, so we didn't like hang out up there, but there were like chairs and lounge chairs if you wanted to hang out up there. It was cool because you could walk around the entire square building and see the different perspectives of the city, and there were signs that showed you like what you were looking at. We also went up the Arc de Triomphe, which we walked to from Trocadéro, and that you would probably recognize. It's a famous landmark. And you go, it's in the middle of like a ginormous roundabout with like 6 lanes of traffic or something ridiculous. So you go underground underneath the road and come up in the middle of the roundabout, and then you pay to go up the stairs in the monument.
Oh my gosh.
It's not nearly as tall as like the skyscraper or anything, but you get a really cool and unique view because the roads are a circle around you, so it branches off in these lines that shoot out, and so it's an interesting perspective. And then of course you see the Eiffel Tower, which is not very far away. So that was a really great thing, and we intentionally did that one at sunset, so I got some pretty sunset pictures there. That evening we went to our first boulangerie pâtisserie. Boulangerie means bakery, like somewhere where you would find croissants, and then patisserie means like pastry shop, so or all of the goodies are, all the colorful desserts. And so we went there after dinner, and it was our first like real experience at one where you see the display case and you get to pick what you want. Je voudrais that. And it was delicious. This is our first real French bakery, and it looks just like Epcot. That is something I was really looking forward to. So I think we had like a ridiculous amount of croissants and baked goods and desserts, and it was lovely. We had a rainy day where we didn't do much but travel the metro to the Clignancourt flea market. Clignancourt flea market? I don't know. Which was recommended by Caleb's Aunt Mary, and I'm really glad we went there. Both Caleb and I got some souvenirs that we showed you in our haul video, my last video that I published, and it was just a cool experience to see a flea market that has really old things. You go to flea markets here in America, and like I love flea markets and thrift stores and all that type of stuff, but nothing's as old as what you would see in Europe. So that was cool, and it was the biggest flea market in France, so a ridiculous amount of vendors. We definitely didn't see it all, but we brought home souvenirs from it and had a good time spending quite a few hours there just wandering around looking at everything. So I do recommend that if you have time to get out there. One morning we woke up really early, thank you Caleb, and went to Trocadéro to meet my new friend Marissa to do a photo session. And it was 40 degrees and very cold, and you could see her breath, but but it was on my bucket list of things to do, to not only have our pictures taken in front of the Eiffel Tower, but so that I could take pictures of somebody in front of the Eiffel Tower. And Marissa made that happen. So I met Marissa on a photography Facebook group that we were both part of, and she lived in California and Boston and now lives in Paris. And I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted to swap sessions. It's something that photographers do to exchange services instead of paying each other. So like, I took pictures of her, she took pictures of us. We swapped the raw files, which means like the editing capabilities of the picture. We swapped that. And she was able to edit her pictures to match her style. I was able to edit the pictures she took of us to match my style. And I am obsessed with what she got of us and obsessed with the ones I got of her. So check. Thank you, Marissa. She was lovely to spend time with, and Caleb was a really good sport to do that with me that early in the morning.
Hannah doesn't know I'm taking this, but basically it's super cold, and she's a super duper trooper because she's so dedicated. She wants to take pictures and have her pictures taken. If this were up to me, I would never opt into something like this, but we're gonna have sweet Eiffel Tower pictures thanks to hardworking Hannah, who doesn't mind freezing early in the morning.
That was a good time, and I have nothing but good memories of that, even though it was cold. She was awesome and super easy. Follow her on Instagram. I'll give her information down below, her website and her Instagram. She posts the most beautiful pictures of Paris, and you are in for a treat just by following her. So please do that. She's lovely. One thing that was a highlight for us, and Caleb says is one of his favorite parts, was the breakfasts and brunches that we did throughout our time in Paris. I think every morning we like went out to either a breakfast or brunch, and that would include eggs of some sort, croissants, small portions of orange juice. Caleb got a cappuccino every time and loved it. Yeah, sometimes like toast or something. Toast and jam. One of his favorite ones gave you toast and jam. But like, they just give you little bits of everything, and it's like this feast. It's so good. Funny story. The first breakfast we went to, I foolishly asked the waiter if they had like over easy eggs or sunny side up eggs, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And so I'm like, okay, I will order scrambled eggs. And Caleb ordered fried eggs because that was on the menu. And then our meals come, and I have scrambled eggs, which were very good, and I don't regret getting them. And Caleb had fried eggs which had a very runny yolk, and I'm like, okay, that's what I wanted. So don't call it over easy or sunny side up. I don't even know if that's a phrase throughout all of America. I should learn that. But yes, fried egg generally meant we got a runny yolk. We went to the Sacré-Cœur, and it's this really magnificent church on top of a hill, so like you can see it from far away. And all of these places where we viewed the Eiffel Tower, you can see the Sacré-Cœur. It kind of like stands out because it's on a hill. It's this really beautiful white building, so that's unique too. And you can pay to go up in one of the tall domes at the top and do like circle around the dome and look out the windows to see everything. And that's worth it. That's super worth it. You already walk up a ton of stairs or hills to get to the church anyway. You might as well just pay a little bit more and go up and see the really good views. That's where you can see the Eiffel Tower. You can't see the Eiffel Tower if you don't go up there. So we really enjoyed that too. And when we were there, right next door is a place called Place du Tertre. I'm sure I pronounced that right. Place du Tertre. And it was this square, like a courtyard in the middle of shops and restaurants that was full of artists. And some were making like the most beautiful oil paintings of, like, if I would sit here and they would paint me, like that kind of thing. Or some were doing like silly cartoon styled like caricatures, and other people were painting landscapes from a picture that they were looking at. Like, every artist was working on their artwork as well as selling their artwork, and it was amazing. I did already show you this in the haul video, but while we're on the topic, I wanted to show you again. This is what I bought there. I hadn't bought anything in Paris really until this, and I was so excited to find these things. So I'm gonna be putting up a gallery wall, and these will be a part of it, but I was so excited about these. That was a really cool experience. We also witnessed some street performers and street scammers. There was this one really close to there, this one table this guy had set up. He had these like pucks, 3 pucks, and one of them, like, they were all black on the bottom except one of them was, I don't know, had a red dot or something. And he would like move them around, and then people in the crowd would pay him money to guess which one, and if they guessed right, they would be given the money he had in his hand. If they guessed wrong, he kept their money, and then the next person who guessed had to pay, and so the money got bigger. You get it? And we watched this one girl who had to be around our age, but extremely ditzy, and she tried guessing without giving him money, and he said, show me the bills, show me the bills, and she was really confused, but she like took like 30 seconds to pull out her wallet and pull out money and show it to him, and he took it, and she was like not wanting him to take it, and then she guessed, so she played the game, and she was wrong, so he kept the money, and she was really upset, which is sad. Like, I was genuinely sad for her that she was just scammed, but like, come on, we stood there for 10 seconds and could figure out what was going on here. Like, don't give them money. I don't know. So that's like a pretty common thing. We also saw multiple homeless people with puppies, and that was fascinating because the first one we thought it was just a fluke. Like, oh my gosh, there's this homeless guy with 2 adorable tiny puppies laying there like this on their own bed and blanket, and the change bowl was right in front of the puppies. And then I saw another and another and another, and we realized, oh, this is a method of getting some more money, because it catches the 20-something girls who are like, oh my gosh, a puppy, can I pet your puppy? And then they say, can I have some money because you pet my puppy? Guilty. I pet a puppy and then paid them some money. It was a really cute puppy, and I had a video of it, but you will never see that. We did see in Trocadéro, there were these street performers. There's a slight hill, not a crazy hill, but there's a slight hill of, like, it's paved, going from the top of Trocadéro to the Eiffel Tower. These guys set up a bunch of cones and were like riding their bike or on skates, or I don't know if we saw skateboards, but definitely bikes and skates, and they were like going between the cones really, 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 really fast, like insanely fast. And this one guy was on his bike riding on like his handlebars, like standing on like the seat and his handlebars and somehow steering. I don't know, it was crazy. Yeah, so there were some things to look at and some scams going on. People who were just looking for, anytime people are confused, that's the time to pounce. So if you ever go, I guess what I learned was stay alert. Do the preparation you can before you get to a place, so you don't show up like trying to figure out what to do. Because if you're looking around confused, they're gonna know that, and they're gonna offer to help you somehow, and or like take things from you without you knowing because you're distracted. We were gonna go to the Louvre, but it was closed the day we went there. The day that we had planned to go there, it rained and we didn't go, and then the next day it was closed. So we didn't make it there, but We did go see Notre Dame, which, as you know, the fire happened. It's closed. You cannot go in there. You can't even get very close to it. There's fences all the way around Notre Dame that keep you really far away because they're working on it. It's construction. So we got as close as we could from a couple sides to just get a view of what it looks like. We saw the, what's it called? The rose window? The stained glass window, the famous one. We got to see it, but not very close. Recommended to us was to go to see Sainte-Chapelle, which is also a church on the same island as Notre Dame. So we walked over there and paid a little bit to go walk in there. And Sainte-Chapelle is a church that started being built in 1238 and finished being built in 1248. So it took 10 years to build, and it's very, very, very old. And there's tons of stained glass windows. It's pretty crazy, like a Gothic style. And then Notre Dame, just for perspective, so that it finished in 1248, Sainte-Chapelle. Notre Dame got started being built in 1163 and took 200 years to build. So, yeah, so that's why Notre Dame is kind of a big deal. Sainte-Chapelle you probably haven't heard of, but it's very old and was quite interesting to visit, so we did go there. Yeah, I guess the last thing I want to touch on is we did splurge and do one really, really fancy dinner. We got all dressed up and I booked a reservation. I did a lot of research between the dinner cruises on the Seine River versus like a sit-down restaurant with a view of the Eiffel Tower, and the reviews were just so iffy on the dinner cruise, and it's expensive, that I didn't want to pay that much money and us not love it. So we did do a sit-down meal at a place called Les Ombres, and it's very, very close to the Eiffel Tower. Anywhere you sit in the place, you have a really good view, unless your back is to it. So Caleb's back was to it, and I got the good view of Caleb and the Eiffel Tower. So it was nice, and I don't have videos of that, but I have pictures of it. And there was a balcony kind of area where, well, like more like a patio, like a big patio area that in the warm months you can eat outside. And we would have done that, I'm sure, if it was warm. But right now, you can hang out there while your table is being prepared or after your meal. The best pictures we got with the Eiffel Tower from our phone, not from Marissa. Those are much better. And we were there for a long time. It was expensive. The food was delicious. We got to watch the Eiffel Tower sparkle twice. So we were there for over 2 hours. That was definitely a highlight for me, like checking one of those things off my list of like, oh, have a romantic dinner with the Eiffel Tower. I'm really glad we did that. I don't think we need to do that again. Like, that's something that, like, one and done, we're okay with that. Yeah, so overall, I really liked Paris. The Eiffel Tower blew me away. I loved it as much as I hoped I would love it. Some people told me that when they saw the Eiffel Tower in person, it was much smaller than they expected. No, not me. I think those people are crazy. Like, it's huge. It is massive. And you can see it from everywhere. You see it from, like, the above ground metro. You see it while you're, like, walking through town and just get glimpses of it, like, above buildings or between alleyways. Like, it's crazy. It's so big, and I find it really beautiful, especially at night. It was just magical. So yeah, I hope to go back. I'm sure we will go back. I'm sure we'll spend less time in Paris in the future and more time in the rest of France. But it was a really good experience. So this is my travel journal. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the few pictures I had to show you. And now we're gonna be back to our non-Europe adventures. So the next videos you'll see from me are Disney World ones. So thank you for watching. Some imagination, huh?